Okay, everybody, this is really serious and you do need to wake up, Britain. I sent this to my council because after the 2019 election, I was absolutely disgusted. It seemed to me obvious that they rigged it because even the polls were claiming there'd be a hung parliament. But oh no, Boris Johnson won, the man who had to hide in a fridge, right? Who was fleeing from the general public wherever he could. He gets a landslide. Well, think on to the next general election and what's going to happen if Nigel Farage wins by a landslide. We are talking about going back to, going back in time nearly 200 years. As far as the working people of Britain are concerned, 80% of the population. We are talking about no workers' rights. We're talking about children of 14 being forced into work. Your human rights gone, so you will be cattle once again, wiping away all the achievements by what everybody suffered through 2 world wars. No NHS, so back to watching your children die. Because you can't afford treatments yourself. What you're going to do? You break your leg? You're in an accident? Oh, there's no NHS. Oh, but you will have insurance. It's going to be the American style. Yeah, the American style where people are getting even worse treatment than British people are getting on the NHS, but they're paying for it. There's still long waiting lists. They're still not receiving the right care. And people go bankrupt. So you work all your life, you get your house, build up your money, whatever, and then suddenly you get cancer and suddenly it's all gone on medical costs, medical bills. I mean, only an absolute fool would give up our healthcare. And then there's the benefit system. Yeah, that's going to be completely scrapped. You're back to workhouses. You're going to work at least 20 hours a week in a workhouse, licking stamps, if necessary. And if you don't do it, then you won't get any benefits. And then you can just die because nobody cares, because you're not a human being, because you haven't got any human rights. Oh, but there'll be the Bill of Rights, which probably won't apply to you if you're not full white British. And if you don't come from a certain background. No trial by jury, that's going. So it's going to be worse. It's going to be worse than it was in the 18 and 1700s. And that is why it is so important now that we take notice of who is running our general elections. Because in 2019, after the vote, I discovered that actually the votes aren't even counted by the council anymore, that it's all outsourced to private corporations. The same private corporations that wanted Brexit, who most benefited from Brexit, who are right now setting up shop in their special economic zones and free ports that are operating outside of British law, who were involved, according to the evidence today, there have been evidence of smuggling and all kinds of stuff, human trafficking coming in through these free ports. British police have no jurisdiction there. They're taking over half the bloody country, if not more, and they're expecting our 14-year-olds to go and work in there. Can you imagine sending your 14-year-old daughter to work in a special economic zone or a free port where she's got no human rights, no workers' rights, and no law to protect her? So if anything happens there, who's going to do anything? And what gets me most is that these people who are talking about voting reform are talking about it on the pretext of protecting our women and children. Well, our women will have no rights He wants to scrap women's rights. When you talk about scrapping human rights, that's an umbrella of rights, okay? And it includes women's rights. It includes children's rights. I tell you, women's rights will be down just to the right to vote. I mean, Nigel Farage is on public record saying that nobody should employ young women. Because, you know, there's every chance that they're going to go off and have a baby. He thinks we should scrap maternity leave. Are you seriously going to vote for these people? I don't believe that the people of Britain are that stupid. I don't think the people of Britain were that stupid to vote for Boris Johnson in 2019. But it doesn't matter how intelligent or stupid the British public are when our elections can be bought. All it takes is the returning officer, right? The returning officer is responsible for handling a general election at every council, right? So the general election is run by the returning officer, who is at liberty to hire private corporations to count the votes, to send them out, to run the polling stations, to provide the staff at polling stations, to collect the votes, count them, and the whole of the post office, the postal vote as well, will all be run by private corporations, global corporations, who print the postal votes out. They send them out to people, they collate the votes, they count them, and they just give the council the tally. I mean, in 2019, they were talking about the results of the postal vote, Dominic Raab, 10 days before the general election, right? He knew, it's not looking very bad. It's not looking good for Labour on the postal vote. How did he know? And why should we believe him? Why should we believe Dominic Raab, a vile person who hates human rights? He hates everything that our grandparents worked and fought for and gave their lives for. He hates them. He hates the human rights. He hates the NHS. The same as Nigel Farage. They want everything back where, you know, a man is a man. You're back to devil's law. You're back to satanic law. That is what he is proposing. And I believe that he is a criminal. And we, the people, need to write a criminal report and take it to the Metropolitan Police and have the man and his band of merry thieves arrested. Because he is threatening to destroy democracy in this country. He is threatening to destroy people's lives, to literally turn people into slaves. And that is a total upturning of our constitution. Okay? They took away our land, right, with enclosures. They took away our rights to forage. They took away our rights to hunt for rabbit or whatever, okay? Criminalised it all. Took away our land, our common lands that were our social security. All of those things were our social security. We could go out and get our own food. We could grow our own food. We could keep our own animals. We could make our own clothes. We could do everything. They took it all away from us with their industry and gave us nothing back except forced us to be living in squalor. Britain was the shame of Europe. I mean, you know, people used to come from Europe to Britain and were disgusted at the way people were forced to live here. Children dumped in the Thames. Babies. Children being bought and sold to work in factories from orphanages. No, we can never go back to that. And that should never have even existed in this country. We should never have lost, you know, our common lands should never have been privatised. And that is why the people of World War I and World War II insisted on a national health service. Because This is what people used to provide for it. We provided it ourselves. We had our own medics and healers who would give us the medicines, who would help us to fix bones and do all kinds of things. We had those skills among ourselves because we've had them for centuries and centuries, for thousands of years. And they were passed down from generation to generation. But they took all that knowledge off us. They sell it to us now as an education. It costs a British person £50,000 to go and train to be a nurse. Why? And nobody's asking the right questions. He said, you stand next to Nigel Farage. You look at the state of this country that man is responsible for with his Brexit crap lies. Oh, no, it isn't his fault. It isn't the fault of, radical capitalism. No, it's the fault of under 50,000 people arriving here in small boats, apparently. It's them who are going to destroy our children. It's them who are going to attack our women. Well, I tell you, a woman with no rights, go and rape her. If you can, you're free to do it. You're a man, you're bigger and stronger than her. Go and do it. Because that is the world that we are heading towards. And it really will be a landslide into hell. And so it is time to wake up, and it is time to ask our councils and our government, who is the returning officer? Why are they not publicly accountable? Because, look, I sent my question to my council. 25. Could you confirm or deny that electoral services, including collating and counting of postal votes, are outsourced to a private company? And if so, which company? Our response: we can confirm, as per section 1(1) of the Freedom of Information Act 2000, the council does not hold the information requested. Oh, the council doesn't know who runs the general election. Who's counting the votes? Who's sending them out? Oh, no. The information you have requested is held by the returning officer rather than the council. Oh, so go and ask the returning officer then. Oh, no. The returning officer is not classed as a public authority under the Freedom of Information Act. Accordingly, all information held by this officer as part of their statutory duty is not held for FOI purposes. With this said, in order to be helpful and assist you with your inquiries, I'm happy to confirm that postal votes are all returned to the council, where they are opened, verified and counted by staff appointed by the returning officer. Now, look at the councils in this country, because I know every city might have how many different constituencies, but there's only one council, isn't there? Like, say, for example, the Sheffield City Council. There's a few constituencies within Sheffield, but who manages the general election for Sheffield? The returning officer. So the returning officer gets to hire private firms, okay, because that's what we need to understand. That is what happens, is that 90%, probably 100% by now, but in 2019 it was 90% of councils outsourced their votes and everything running the general election to private companies. The government gave a contract to, without even putting it out to tender, which was illegal, to a company called, I think it was IDOCS, who run the postal votes in 2019. They managed the postal votes. So, the returning officer would be depending on the private company to send in staff to do the postal votes. They are open, verified and counted by staff. So they're returned to the council, apparently, and verified by staff appointed by the returning officer. Well, who could those staff be, I wonder? Who are those staff? Because they're appointed by the returning officer. So the returning officer just has to pay some company to come in and they'll do it. We can't trust it because, as I say, this is a different world. This is a world that is run by people that use stuff like blackmail, bribery and threats. Zionists. That's what they do. That's how they are where they are. That is how they have America in their back pocket, because they control the president, because they've got the goods on him and they get the goods on everybody. And if they can't do it by blackmail, they'll do it by bribery or threat. They'll threaten people's children. They will do anything. They will kill children and babies. So when you're dealing with people like that and they come to you and say, oh, by the way, Reform's going to win this election. Reform's going to win this constituency. And if they don't, you better watch out. Or, oh, we've got this information about you. And then there's the security for the elections. Because, it's all right, people voting, counting, doing whatever. But then, once you get to the poll station and the boxes are picked up and taken to the council, well, who knows what could happen in between that journey to that box, in between picking it up and getting it to the council or to wherever it's going to be counted. So that's why you need police. But can we trust our police? Because they've been infiltrated by Zionists. And is it even our police anymore that are providing the security during general elections? Or is it not, again, a private security firm? Corporate. Now, we are in a situation where it literally is the corporation against humanity. Because the corporations want us gone. Okay, they've got everything up. They took everything that we have worked hard to build, all our companies, all our factories, businesses, everything. They've got them. But now they don't want to spend the time having to deal with, providing services to people. They'd like to just get on with what they're getting on with now, which is what? The quest for eternal life. They are after the Holy Grail. And that's what COVID was about, wasn't it? Injecting everybody with mRNA. Experimental nonsense that is killing people. Has killed my friends, has damaged them, has damaged people. And it's all out in the open now. There's no denying it. Those vaccines are harmful. And they're still giving them out. Am I a health risk for warning people? Well, I was considered a health risk in 2020. But this is the world we are dealing with. We cannot trust a general election run by a government dedicated to genocidal maniacs, Zionists, the Tories, Labour, Lib Dems, and I'm so sorry, Zach Polanski, but the Green Party as well, because you kept them in, even though you people in the Green Party know full well what is going on under the name of Zionism in Gaza and Palestine and Lebanon and Iran and in fact all over the Middle East. But you filibustered the debate on whether or not Zionists should be included in the Green Party. Well, really, it's like saying, well, shall we include mass murderers? Shall we include Nazis? How disgusting. So I won't be voting Green. And really, what point is it? What point is it if our elections are all dependent on this returning officer who's not accountable to the public? He's not considered, or she is not considered as a public authority. We are, honestly, And I tell you, it is so risky. This is it, the Heartlands Tribune is explaining it all. Inside Reform UK is making welfare work. The sick, the foreign-born and the return of compulsory labour. Reform UK welfare reforms are a return to the poorhouse. Reform has found its 50 billion. It's sitting in the pockets of disabled people. Raise the bloody taxes! But oh no. Let's cause massive suffering and misery across the board, because I tell you now, once the pockets of disabled people have been robbed of 50 billion quid, that's 50 billion quid out of our economy and into the corporate pockets, into the corporate coffers. And that will have a massive impact on our macro economy, of the shops, the local shops, and the services that individuals are providing now, self-employed, a lot of them. It's all going to be gone. The people buying stuff from Amazon or whatever, the delivery people, well, their 50 billion is going to disappear out of our economy. It's going to have a massive impact. Okay? And people are already struggling as it is. Its plan would scrap PIP for working age adults, alter or remove support from 2.89 million people and push more than 330,000 long-term claimants into compulsory council placements. 20 hours work would bring just 30 quid extra a week without the minimum wage or employment rights. Perform poorly or fall foul of the rules and your benefits could be withdrawn permanently. Reform calls it making welfare work. Britain calls it the Poor Law in 1834. Meanwhile, HMRC puts the tax gap at 59.2 billion. Yet Reform's 50-page plan never mentions tax avoidance, tax evasion or the tax gap. The workhouse has changed from stone to spreadsheet. The doctrine remains the same. Read more. Is this welfare reform or punishment dressed up as policy? Well, it isn't a punishment, is it? It's a criminal attack. It is a criminal attack against the people of Britain, against our rights. And what is the point of having a democracy if that's the way we're going to live? And this hasn't even mentioned what he wants to do with the NHS. We are talking about a demon, an outright demon staring us in the face, threatening to kill people. Because it is going to kill people. We lost how many people? Was it? They said officially 250,000. But unofficially, really, it's 500,000 that were killed by austerity in the first, 10, 12, 15 years. In one way or another. Through cuts to the NHS, cuts to this, that and the other. People have died. And suicides went through the roof. And is that what's going to be offered to people who are terminally ill now? And it's like, oh, well, sorry, you're over 50. So really, the best we can offer you is palliative care and, but we could help you die. How? How have we reached here? We have reached here because you people out there are not talking about stuff. You're not taking notice. Oh, turn it off. Oh, no, I don't want to think about that. Oh, well, you better start thinking about it because it will be in your face and it's your children that will be having to face it. And they will be asking questions about what were mummy and daddy doing? Because they had this. They had an NHS. They had benefits. They had pensions. They had human rights. What have we got? We're animals. And they voted for this to make us animals, to make us slaves, to bring back slavery, because apparently that's the only way to stop people arriving here in small boats. When it isn't. The only way to stop people arriving here in small boats, 50,000 a year, is to stop the bloody wars, is to stop Zionists from killing children, from avoiding peace, because they know that through peace, they're not going to get their empire. Because that is what they're doing. They're building an empire. And they're building it on the land of Middle Eastern people, turning their faith into something evil. ISIS, controlled by Israel and America and Britain. Britain, they need to go, right? They need to go. Keir Starmer is a criminal. He's a criminal. He supported Israel denying food and fuel. He said it out loud on TV. A man in his position of power said, yes, they have that right to deny children healthcare, to deny them anaesthetics. Children having their limbs removed with no anaesthetic, and they're sat in their offices saying it's not a genocide. How dare they? And how dare we live with it? Yeah, I am shouting because I am fucking angry. And I am angry that that somebody like Nigel Farage can fucking well stand on his bloody podium and threatening us with this horror. I mean, for me, it isn't going to affect me because I'll be retired, right? But bloody hell, do I want to watch my fellow citizens going through this? Is that what my granddad gave his life for while my mum grew up with no father, living on a mum's wage that was half the pay in those times? No, we suffered poverty. We suffered, and we shall not bloody forget it. Because let's face it, King Charles isn't forgetting about his legacy of what his family fought for, is he? No, and why should we? Why should we forget what is ours and what we won and what we fought for and what our ancestors suffered through? And all these free ports and special economic zones, they need to go. They are illegal. They are criminal. They've been set up without consent or even knowledge of the public. The BBC has not been informing people. So anyway, that's all I've got to say. So you better fucking well think on, people, because I tell you now, right, we are facing oblivion and we need to be asking questions about our general election. And in fact, can we even have a general election under a parliament governed by blooming Zionists, or let's just say paedophiles, because that is how they are, that's how they are where they are, isn't it?